So here we have the Boden 6-string in natural. Just got this guitar a couple weeks ago. Actually sold my Polini signature because of this guitar being a Neck Thru. And when they came out with this, I really wanted one. So finally got around to selling the other one. You can see the craftsmanship on these are beautiful. They are super light at about 5 pounds. They make great travel guitars, sitting on the couch chilling guitars, and they sound excellent too. So I actually play this quite a lot plugged in. You can see that this one has a lightly roasted bird's eye maple neck. The frets on this are stainless steel. The craftsmanship is fantastic. It's right on par with my core PRSs. You can see I've done a couple things to this already. First thing I always do with my guitars is switch it to the PRS flat tip. I just like the way this feels when you're moving it up and down versus the conventional round tip. So that's easy, just pull off, put on a new one. And then I always use strap buttons. I like these, they're a round knob, and then when you attach your strap button to it, it actually pushes out. So even if this washer came off, it can't let loose. It is the most secure strap button, and it's super easy, just on and off, very low profile. These are made by Locks, LOXX, highly recommend them. With this Strandberg, I went with a fixed bridge. I had a trem on the last guitar, and for what I use this guitar for, it just made more sense to have a little easier time changing for drop tunings and alternate tunings. So went with a fixed bridge on this one. It is just as adjustable as the trem was. You can't angle the bridge like you can on the trem, opening the bass side higher, but you can individually raise or lower all the strings. So this is super easy to set the action really low, intonate really easy. My last Strandberg, I actually didn't like the pickups at all, and I changed them to Sonic Ecstasies, which were great. However, Strandberg started making their own pickups instead of using the SIR pickups, and these are the Boden Original MF pickups. They're fantastic. You can see Strandberg's little logo in the corner here. They sound great. I'm not changing these at all. And they're black, but they kind of have this chrome reflection finish on them, which are really cool. I dig that. Again, you can see the Neck Thru. You got all kinds of great access up here. Craftsmanship is fantastic. It's a 3-piece neck. There are no scarf joints or anything. It's all continuous. And this is roasted maple. Again, you can see the strap button I changed here. So what we're going to do today, the one thing that I hate about Strandberg guitars are their knobs. I don't like metal knobs in the first place. They're really smooth, they're hard to spin, but I really like my knobs to have numbers, and it's confusing to me, even though this symbol is super hard to see when you're playing, to know where you are, because when you're looking down, all you see is the metal of the knob and not this little almost imperceivable Strandberg symbol. But when you turn a knob that has just a pointer, it moves away from you, unlike the knob on something with numbers where you can sight read looking down. So now I'm on 8, now I'm on 6, now I'm on 4. You can tell where your tone and volume are at. So I much prefer that. And nobody makes numbered metal knobs, which would be great. Actually, there's one company out of Japan that makes metal knobs. They're 40 bucks. They have lumile numbers along the sides, and it's like $20 to ship here from Japan. So for 60 bucks, you can easily do something else, which is what we're going to do today. So what we are going to do is take off these pots and put on PRS top hats. That'll look great with the look of the guitar. They are very easy to spin because they've got this multi-faceted sides. The numbers are there. The problem is that these have smooth ends, which you'll see in a minute, that have the little screw Allen wrench that tightens them, and these are push-on onto splines. So easiest thing to do is just change the pots. Besides that, these have the smaller import pots in them, and we're going to replace them with PRS USA volume and tone pot. So to further illustrate what we're talking about, the volume on about 3, tone is in the middle, I guess, because it's really hard to tell. I am just running the clean channel on my angle fireball. You can see the settings here. Pretty much everything's at noon, just a little bump on the bass, and really clean gains on 2. So I don't anticipate these mods doing anything to the sound of the guitar, but just for giggles, we're going to run through all the settings here and just get a quick sound sample. So again, through my clean angle fireball 25, I just have a little bit of compression on, but other than that, straight into the clean channel. So here you have the neck pickup on humbucker. And next we have the neck coil split. And here we have both humbuckers. Here we have the outer coil of the bridge with the outer coil of the neck. And last, just the bridge humbucker. So you can see a real wide variety of tonal characteristics for the different positions, and I actually really like the way this is wired, and I love the pickups, so we are just going to change the pots and the knobs. So here you can see I've got the control cavity opened up, and I was actually very surprised when I looked at this. You've got large USA style pots for volume and tone. Really nice switch. In my prog video, I actually commented on how cheap the switch was and it rattled around. It was a junky switch. This is a really nice switch. Wiring looks really good. Actually have a really nice input jack. Usually I replace that as well because there's only one contact and it's kind of crappy. This is really nice. So kudos to Strandberg for stepping up their game. Even though they're import guitars, they have really nice internal components. So rewiring a tone pot and a volume pot is actually really easy. You have your hot that's coming input from your switch, whatever that is, 3-way, 5-way, etc. Going to your first lug on your volume pot. Then you have usually some kind of resistor, capacitor combination here between the 2 lugs, and you have your out going to your input jack. And then on your volume pot, you've got from the first lug, and this one's got a orange cap here in between the connection to the tone pot, and then all your grounds. So ground here on the tone pot, everything grounding out on the volume pot. So you just need to remove these connections, put the new pots in, and replace them. You can also see they got some really nice shielding here. You got shielding paint as well as copper shielding on the bottom floor of this cavity. So really nice job as far as setting this up. One last thing before we start desoldering things, really recommend taking a picture of the inside of your control cavity before you mess with anything. That way, if you do something wrong, screw something up, you can always refer back to the way it was. So you can always put things back the way they were. So before I did this, I just snapped a couple quick pictures. One of the other tips about soldering, besides having your station all set up and ready to go, is make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. One good thing about COVID-19, there's masks laying all over my house, so very easy to grab a quick mask so you're not sucking in a bunch of solder gas. And yeah, just have all your stuff ready to roll. And then last tip but not least, painter's tape can't hurt your guitar. Liquid solder can, so always tape off around what you're doing. I like to throw some blue towels around and just make sure that if you get any solder splatter that you're not damaging the finish of your beautiful guitar. And so this is another thing you might encounter. I've got my soldering iron as hot as it'll go. And sometimes whatever they solder this stuff with at the factory, you just can't get it to liquid up anymore. It's just rock solid. So if that's the case, I'm actually just gonna snip my connections and re-solder with a fresh end. I would have done that anyway, but usually I'll just loosen the solder and pull the connections off. In this case, I can't. So you can see I've got all my connections snipped. I actually took all the grounds and just took a piece of painter's tape and painted them all together. I've got my in from my three-way switch off. Everything else is loose and is going to come off with these pots. And I have taken off the out and the ground that were on section going to my input jack. So now I got to flip the guitar over and unscrew the pots. So taking off the knobs for your tone and volume pot are super easy. Allen wrench that came with your guitar, just loosen the little Allen head screw on the side, lift them right off, piece of cake. And then to loosen the pot itself, 1/2-inch socket, just loosens this nut here. And once you take that off, the pot will just fall back into the control cavity. And of course, the reason you can't use normal PRS knobs on these Strandberg guitars is because this is smooth. That Allen wrench, you can actually see the little divot here where it screws into that, whereas other types of pots have these splines where the knobs just press on by tension, so you can't put a splined knob onto a smooth post. And again, very surprised. Most of your import guitars are going to have an 8mm hole, and your USA pots are going to have a 10mm hole, but these PRS ones, like I said, they were quality pots. Actually have a 10mm hole because they were full-size pots. If you didn't have that, they make this tool to increase the size of the hole, this auger. Do not use a regular drill. You will ruin the top of your finish and split it and crack it. This you can do from the inside and just slowly grind away material to make the hole the size you want. Thankfully, didn't have to do that. Kudos to Strandberg. And then it's just like our friend Wade Wilson, time to drop pots in holes. So you can see they just push in easy from the back side. And then throw on your washer and your 1/2mm nut. Screw them back in place. And you're ready to start soldering. So if I ever have to replace any wiring, I always use this vintage style cloth pushback wiring. Works really nice. When you get it, it comes in 3 colors, white, yellow, and black. So I always use the black for ground, white for in and yellow for out. That way it's not confusing. This stuff is very easy to work with and very inexpensive. I bought 30 feet of this from Amazon for like, I don't know, $6 or something a long time ago, and rewired probably 10 guitars with it. Still have a lot of pieces left. So here you can see we've got most of the grounds back on. I've got the volume pot connected to the tone pot, and I've got the input back to the first lug on the volume pot. Next, I just gotta solder up the input jack and we'll be ready to go. So here you can see we've got everything put back together. All the grounds are on, ton of grounding on a guitar. Always make sure you got that line going from your tone pot to your volume pot. The input is back in to the first lug in the volume pot, and the output going to the output jack. Again, grounding coming from the jack back to the circuit. And everything is wired up nice. And all that's left now is sliding the knobs on. Everybody puts these in a different position depending on what they like. I like when the guitar is sitting at a slight angle like it is on a Strat, that the 0 is pointing straight at me when I put it on, so that I know whatever's looking right at me is the number that is correct. So all you literally do is line up the splines and push this guy on and you're ready to go. And so of course the last thing to do is plug it in and make sure you didn't mess anything up, and make sure you're not getting any strange noise when you're tapping either the bridge or the strings. Everything's grounded properly. You can see we've got our new knobs and pots in place. And the other thing to do is test your tone pot, test your volume pot. So volume is working, and tone. I actually think subjectively I've got wider range, a lower tone and a higher pitch tone than I had with the last pot, but that could just be subjective. So again, I'm going to turn tone on 5 and volumes on 3, and quick run through some chords. So this is the neck pickup humbucking, and neck single coil, both humbuckers, both pickups split, and the bridge humbucking. And again, could be me subjectively. I think the pickups are clearer. I think the tone pot in particular is a big upgrade, moving to a PRS USA pot. Not that it was bad before, but it just seems like all the mids are more articulate and the highs are a little bit brighter to me. But still loving the pickups, and hope this video helped you if you're thinking about changing your knobs or pots. And thanks for watching. As always, all of the stuff I've learned to do in these videos is mostly from watching Phil McKnight's channel. If you aren't subscribed to the Know Your Gear channel, you really should check him out. Yeah, have a good rest of the day. Thanks for watching.